Hi, good morning, and welcome to the ZP Developer Zone. So every week we do a live streaming webinar for the members of our ZP Developer Zone, and in this webinar, we sort of answer questions that appear in our forum. So let me sort of essentially dive back into it, or straight into it rather. There's not an awful lot of questions this week on the forum, so I'll answer those questions, and I may even ask some questions back. So let me sort of essentially do that. So every week I put this slide up, and I sort of just quickly introduce the ZP Developer Zone. So, the ZP Developer Zone is a way by which ZP and let's say the community of biosensors or biosensor developers can interact. So part of our mission at Zimmer and Peacock, is to, in our own in our own facility, is to develop the best and manufacture the best biosensors we can. At the same time, is to kind of foster new talent within the community. So there's a lot of engineers and scientists and academics who work with us, and we use the forum to kind of support those efforts, and to also sort of sometimes help with startups as well. So I'll sort of, I always say, we have the academy, we have these webinars, we have collaborations. I know I'm in discussion with one of our members at the moment who's thinking about coming to Norway. There's a university near us called the USN, University of Southeast Norway. They run a really good master's course called SSI, Smart Systems Integration. A lot of our engineers have actually been on that master's course. And so one of the ZP Developer Zone members, he's reached out to that course, and he's having a discussion now about coming on that course. So, we support collaborations, with letters of reference, and we will also, depending on the talent of the engineer, we can also offer grants as well to help with academia. We obviously offer jobs, and we run the ZP Developer Zone, where we essentially have a forum, and we also have our workshops. Hi Aftab, nice to see you this morning. So if I look at the forum this week, and if you're interested in asking questions, Zimmer and Peacock, there is a forum up here. If you're interested in asking questions in the forum, you are welcome to do so. There's a link there. As I say, it's been a little bit, not so many questions this week. We've had one come in from Hasim, and probably it was worth saying that Hasim's one of our founding members of the ZP Developer Zone. And we also had a question regarding 2D materials. I also, one of the members emailed me this morning and said, "Oh, you didn't answer my question on the forum." We actually, if a question appears on the forum, we will answer it, in these webinars. So we do these webinars at 8 a.m. every Thursday. Hitcham and Aftab are online. They know that we do this kind of, without skipping one. We've always done them. Be interesting to see what we do, Chris. What we do in the vacation time. But yeah, if you post a question in the forum, then we will answer it at least during the live streaming webinar every Thursday. So one of the questions that came up this week is one of the newest members has actually got an EasyFlex. So the EasyFlex is a kind of flexible circuit board into which you can plug let's say biosensors, and we have the needle arrays that can plug into that. So this is their photograph. So they've got the kit, and they've got a few questions, and sort of one of the questions is they're asking about a certain part number, and the part number is with this kit there's a PCB, a printed circuit board, and that allows you to connect into the EasyFlex. So I've got a suspicion we're going to have to get online with them and find out where that PCB is. But they've got a question regarding the PCB. The PCB is just, engineers would call it a carrier. It carries the microneedles and allows you to connect it into the actual electronics. And therefore, because we can't locate this PCB, they can't therefore plug into the electronics. So we need to fix that problem. Now they ask some sort of questions that are a little easier to answer online. I'm going to finish this question, and say we're going to basically do a demo with them. Just as an FYI, a couple of weeks ago, we had an inquiry regarding sodium sensors. And it was a similar thing there, that the guy had some questions regarding sodium sensors, and they were capillary fill sodium sensors. And I essentially said, well, we'll do a demo. We actually did a demo this week for them. So, and that went really quite well. So if you're a ZP, let's say client, collaborator, customer, and you're having problems, then don't worry. Essentially, we'll get online with you and do some demonstrations with you. They did ask some questions about what's the minimum maximum measured current. Now this is slightly blurry, but I realize there we are. Just to say that this is slightly blurry, but I'll just sort of run by you here. This is 0 millimolar glucose, so that looks by my eye to be about 12 microamps. This is 5 millimolar, so that looks to be about 8 milliamps, microamps. If you ever get milliamps, you're doing something wrong. But 12 microamps at 0, about 18 microamps at 5 millimolar, about 22 microamps at 10, sorry. At 15 it's about 25, and at 20 it's about 27.5. So I'll go backwards again. So at 20, 27.5. At 15, it's about 25. At 10, it's about 22. At 5, it's about 17, 18. And at 0, it's about 12 microamps. So these are the kind of currents that you can expect off it. Of course, this particular, and as I say, I mean, the one thing I like about, the nice thing about running and owning a company is that, if somebody's got a problem, it's not like a company where you have to go and ask somebody to help you, sort out the problem. You can essentially, kind of make it happen. And that's one of the delights of, let's say, running a business. So this particular client needs a demo, so we need to sort that out. So if you're watching, and I know you're a new member of the ZP Developer Zone, I also know that Hasim is helping you. Let's have a conversation and let's sort out a demo early next week with a couple of our engineers, and we'll get you, let's say, sorted out. As I say, we did a similar thing for a customer a couple of weeks ago. They were asking questions about the sodium sensor. We did a demo for them. It went really well, so hopefully that will help them get on their way. Some of the questions actually were also about software, so it's probably worth saying that there is some software to be downloaded. There's basically some sort of Bluetooth software that can be downloaded. I'll give you a link to that in a minute. And it's also worth saying that there's a software installation video. So I think the place to start is probably the software installation video, and there is some software on the website. So there's a couple of, what we do is at the end of this YouTube video, or at the end of this webinar, we leave the videos online, and I try and put the links, let's say, in the description, so you're not hunting around. So if you end up watching the video later on, or you want to try and find some of these links, don't worry, I put them in the comments below. No, so first of all, if you've got a problem and you're a ZP customer, don't worry, reach out to us on the forum, list out the questions, and we'll organize a webinar and support you. Like I say, there was a second question this week, and it was about 2D materials. I think the question was regarding, let's say, graphene, but I just need a bit more description. So apologies, I'm not going to be able to answer that question, but if you're online, maybe give me a few more descriptions and we'll try and answer that. Now, what I'm going to do now is, because we didn't have so many questions this week, I'm going to slightly change course and sort of ask the question, why should any of us be doing biosensors? Why should ZP exist? Why should we be working on biosensors? So it's a bit of a sort of an existentialist question. But for me, we live in an age, so, this is the, let's say, the Google Home. This is an Apple watch. Now all these things, because we live in an age of kind of Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and even 5G is here, and with most of these home devices, let's say, as long as you've got a router, they can essentially connect to the cloud. So I don't want to say the word Google too much, because my Google Home will turn on and start trying to talk to me. But we live in an age, and increasingly so, it is becoming more and more so that these smart devices that are connected to the internet and are doing things for us are increasingly around. So some of us have got these Google Helps, some of us have got these smartwatches. Some people in the world have these smart doorbells for home security, etc. So we do live in a world of sort of connectivity, and your connected devices, you can get your sort of data and information, let's say, off your smartphones. And it's all this connectivity to the cloud that is essentially defined as the sort of Internet of Things. So it took me a long time to say the word Internet of Things, or the phrase Internet of Things, but we do live in an age of the Internet of Things. I think one of our leading sort of members who's very familiar with this kind of tech is actually Aftab. Now, we live in this world of Internet of Things, and we have our, as I say, smart devices at home. Now, the only thing about this is these are electronic devices, but we as human beings, or the agricultural system upon which we depend, or the water upon which we drink, or even the environment in which we live, these are not electronic devices. This is a world of chemistry, biochemistry, and biology. So the biosphere in which we live is chemistry, biology, and biochemistry. Let's say the world in which we work is increasingly so, essentially digital and electronic. So I very much work in a sort of, in a digital and electronic world, but I definitely live in the real sphere. So I know this is a bit of a sort of discussion, but I thought, we didn't have so many questions this week, so let's discuss this a little bit. What's our raison d'etre? Why should there be a ZP developer zone? Why should people be buying, let's say, microneedles and flex circuits and worrying about the connectivity? So for me, we live in this chemistry, biochemistry, and biological world. We increasingly live essentially in a sort of digital world, and so there's a real edge between our working lives and maybe our leisure lives as well, and actually the real world in which we live. And so, at ZP, what our reason for being is, and in part what the ZP developer zone is about, is saying, all right, so there is an edge between let's say the biological world in which we are and in which we live, and then there's a digital world where you have cloud computing and big data, and people want to gather data. And so for me, the whole purpose of the developer zone and the whole purpose of ZP is actually to create these biosensors that sit either in our agricultural environment, they maybe sit upon us, as in terms of a wearable sensor, maybe they're in the water. They can also be discrete devices, it can be just doing saliva testing. But these biosensors are the first phase of the interface between our real world and our, let's say, digital world. And in order to get that, the really interesting data in life is it's not really your the number of steps that you take in a day or the amount of exercise. That is interesting, but the real interesting data is your glucose levels, your cortisol levels, your lactate levels. And also, in order to answer the questions, what is my glucose levels or my lactate levels or what's my cortisol levels, you need the biosensors. So ZP, the first thing we ever developed were essentially biosensors. If you're going to have biosensors, you need electronics. If you have electronics, you need connectivity. So it's nice then that the member who's asking about the EasyFlex, which they've essentially got a biosensor there, they've got electronics there, and they've got connectivity there. And so that allows them to essentially build the workflow to get to the cloud. And that's really, for me, what the whole ZP developer zone is really about, is helping developers, academics, startups, and ourselves at ZP to build this really this smart edge between the world in which we live and the people that we are, and our digital world where we want to collect and monitor people's health, the quality of the environment, the water. I mean, even our nitrate program, when you look at it, our nitrate program is starting to discover that actually, you can decrease the fertilizers put on a field by 2/3. That's a huge saving in terms of global. So when you look at ZP and you look at our history, the first thing that we had were all these biosensors. More recently, you've started to notice that we're trying to essentially reduce the cost of electronics in order for people to enable these biosensors. And Julie, at the moment, appears to be a database for looking at electrochemical data, but it's actually going to be much more than that. It's going to be the sort of the first repository for all this data. So at the moment, if you're a Julie user, you'll find that you can upload electrochemical experiments, analyze your data, report your data. But you can see that there's a much bigger story here, that actually it will eventually, or it will soon be receiving biosensor data. And then I would say that at ZP, we have completed the stack of technologies to go from our real world, which I would consider biological, into our digital world, which is where we work and make decisions. So let me just kind of give like I said, we only had a couple of questions this week, but let me just give a kind of quick summary of what we spoke about. So every week, without delay or without, I think we've never skipped one since we've started this, is we do a ZP Developer Zone webinar. Questions, particularly from academia and startups and partners, we put them in the forum, or they go into the forum and we answer the questions. If we can't answer the question in the forum and it's a bit deeper, then we will arrange demonstrations and demos, and we do essentially private demos to help people out. And that's exactly what we're going to do for this series of questions here. And then the last thing I want, because we were a bit lighter today, I just wanted to kind of lay out a little bit deeper some of the vision that we have at Zimmer and Peacock for why we should even have this forum, or why Hitcham has been working on electrochemical sensors. I don't know, he's 2 or 3 years. I've been corresponding with him for over 2 years, I would say. And why should he be interested in doing that? And I would say, because there is a new wave of technology coming. The Internet of Things is already here, but the Internet of Things that can actually detect the really interesting signals are not here. Those sensors don't exist, and ZP wants to be part of that solution. All right, well, I appreciate it, you guys coming this week. I was a bit worried my internet would drop. I was a little late in starting today because I had to quickly change internets, but it seems to have held up. So just as an FYI, next week at Zimmer and Peacock, we're actually having a big company meeting. So if you kind of watch us on social media, if you watch us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you'll see quite a few pictures appearing of, like, let's say, the entire company. So if you want to get a real sense of the scale of us, watch the stuff, let's say, next week. All right, thanks very much. And for our friends with the EasyFlex, reach out to me and we'll organize a demo. Aftab, Hitcham, thanks for guys, and I'll catch you next week. All right, take care. Bye-bye.